Much for being here this morning. I hope you're having a great week. This unit, we're going to talk about conducting effective outreach as a way to help increase your pre-kindergarten enrollment and reach pre-kindergarten eligible children and families. So today we'll do a quick introduction. We'll discuss utilizing data, creating an outreach plan. We'll look at various outreach strategies. We're going to discuss some specific, concrete things that hopefully you can walk away with and implement pretty easily. And then we'll wrap up the presentation and allow some time for questions. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, definitely feel free to ask at any time, but we'll also have designated time at the end of the presentation. So I'm sure, as all of you know and have seen firsthand working in this field, whether you've worked in education your whole career or whether you've worked for other social service organizations, you've probably seen that the famous saying of "if you build it, they will come" has not proven accurate for many programs. Research shows that children and families who are in most need of services are least likely to receive them. So families often experience barriers or lack awareness of available programs. I think this is true for pre-kindergarten. It's also true for any other social service organizations. There's often barriers in place, like the time that the services are available. So in this case, that would be the length of the pre-K day, or transportation, or maybe they just don't know about the program. So outreach is an effort by an organization or a group to connect its programs, services, or ideas to specific audiences or the general public. And outreach should focus both on how to reach potential families, but also how to reach community partners. So our goal for today is to discuss some practical outreach strategies to help increase the recruitment of pre-K eligible families. And again, this will focus both on how to reach families directly, but also how to connect with community partners who might be serving eligible pre-K families as well, so that you all can jointly help each other and help increase your enrollment. So quickly, I just kind of wanted to get you all thinking about outreach. What are your thoughts on conducting outreach for a pre-kindergarten program? And this can be anything. If there's strategies you've used that work, there's strategies that don't work, if there's any challenges you have, just kind of any general initial thoughts. If you could use the chat or the question function and input your answers, and then we'll discuss those out loud. So one person said it's a lot of work and different kind of work from advertising for other district programs. I think that's a great point. A lot of these things don't cost a lot of money, but they take a lot of time. And then it is a different kind of work, and it's different from advertising, and it's different from being a pre-K teacher or a pre-K administrator. I think outreach can take its own, you could have a whole job just on outreach, someone who specializes in that. And then someone else said that outreach is often hampered by bureaucracy. I think that's true as well. School district or government agencies sometimes have a lot of red tape in place, and so that can be difficult. Someone else said challenges are our range of demographics and having ideas for each of the demographics. And someone else said, I believe outreach is necessary if we are to inform all of the community about services and programs. So great, thank you all for sharing, and hopefully some of the ideas we covered today will help address some of these challenges and give you all some ideas. Next month, we're also going to talk about marketing, and we'll have a guest speaker from Commit to Dallas. She's going to talk about some of her targeted marketing strategies and different things that she's used that have worked well for her. So hopefully that will be helpful as well. So as a quick reminder, any outreach strategies that you do or anything you do around enrollment should be data informed. So when conducting or creating your outreach plan, you may want to consider utilizing data to help form your plan. Data-informed decision-making can inspire action, allows for the identification of trends and gaps. It allows for strategic focus and continuous improvement. So you all have looked at using data to inform your enrollment and access, and you can use it for outreach as well. Some of the potential data sources that you can use are those T-peer reports, and those are out for the 17-18 school year. I can't remember if I shared that with you all, but those are available. And the way that you would use those is you can see, your pre-K eligible families and the breakdown of those demographics. So you can kind of see, if you have a high percentage of military families, maybe you do some outreach there. You can look at those at the breakdown, and that'll help you decide which population to focus on. You can also use census data, district data, or maps. So some districts have mapped out exactly where they're getting their pre-K kids from. And if there's any pockets that you see you're not enrolling families, then maybe you want to target outreach in those areas with businesses or flyers or different things like that. And then also just conducting surveys. So community partners, while you all may be the experts in pre-K, community partners might be experts in pre-K eligible families. For example, if there's a nonprofit that offers English as a second language classes, maybe they have some ideas on language or strategies that work for them. Same thing with military families. There's different groups that work with different populations that you might be able to just get some ideas from. And then also surveying families. So with that, you can just ask families directly, where do you think we should advertise? Or, where do you spend your free time? And that may help there. When creating an outreach plan, there's lots of different questions you can consider. So where should it take place? When should it take place, and at what frequency? Am I reaching all pre-K eligible or hard to reach populations? Are there any partners in my community that can help? Have I sought stakeholder feedback on the best way to reach pre-K eligible populations? Have I sought family feedback? Are there any other departments within my LEA that can assist? Sometimes there's advertising or outreach groups or a PTA. I mean, there's lots of different avenues you can go. Sometimes there's also other parent services. For example, if your district has home visiting, maybe that's a group that can assist as well. Just kind of include it with anything that they're already doing. And then also if there's any volunteer groups that can assist in outreach efforts. So Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Junior League, sorority or fraternity groups, different things like that. And we'll cover all those as well. So some general tips for creating an outreach plan. First, you'll want to utilize 3 or more outreach strategies. And this is from the pre-kindergarten self-assessment. You kind of break down the different categories for scoring, and 3 or more is what is recommended for that highest category. You'll want to start small and increase, improve, and diversify your strategies each year. And you can consider starting with strategies that are free or low cost, or if there's someone that can help you. You'll want to identify partners that can help, and this is both within your LEA and within your community. And then also you'll want to conduct outreach early and often. So we're going to talk through today 9 specific things that you can do, and you can start with one of these. You can start with more than one. Maybe there's something that works for you, but here's some just general ideas for conducting outreach. So you'll want to conduct targeted outreach with families with pre-kindergarten eligible or hard to reach children. Meet families where they are, get feedback from community partners or stakeholders, build relationships with community organizations, utilize trusted messengers, what's in it for me messaging, volunteers or interns, and also utilizing parents as referral sources. And then lastly, training all LEA staff members about your pre-kindergarten program. So we'll dive into each of these specifically. So targeted outreach are strategies that are specifically geared towards families with pre-K eligible children or hard to reach children. You all know the pre-kindergarten eligibility requirements. Children have to be 4 before September 1st and also meet one of the requirements listed on this slide. So what you all can do, what I encourage you to do, is think about each population and then try to think of a community partner that serves this population to help advertise your program. So you could break it down. Unable to speak and comprehend the English language. Where are some places that might also be serving families or children that are not English speaking, and can you partner with them? So that could be faith-based organizations that maybe offer services in Spanish or in other languages. That could be organizations that provide ESL classes. There's lots of different things in your community that may also be serving those populations. So one thing you can do is just to go through each of these and try to think of a few community partners who also serve these populations, and then provide them with information about your pre-K program. You'll also want to think about hard to reach children. So these are potential examples of hard to reach children, and some of them may overlap with pre-K eligible children. So this is another list that you can use to help brainstorm community partners. So children in the welfare system, experiencing homelessness, children exposed to violence or who have experienced trauma, children with developmental or physical disabilities or delays, mental health issues, children of incarcerated parents or parents re-entering communities from incarceration. So there might be programs that help parents transition from being incarcerated to transitioning into living in the community. And so that could be somewhere you could reach out. Children raised by grandparents. There was a recent study by 0 to 3 that showed there's a very high number of children being cared for by grandparents, and so targeting grandparents specifically may be something you want to do in your community or for your district. Children with single or divorced parents, children of LGBTQ families, children with parents who are immigrants who do not speak English, if the parents have mental illness or parents have substance abuse problems. So these are all different kind of populations that may overlap with pre-K eligibility, and you can conduct some specific outreach with them, provide those organizations with information about your program, and just establish a relationship with them. So here's an example of targeted outreach. An LEA learned that their community has a high rate of children and families experiencing homelessness. After collaborating with community stakeholders, the LEA put together an outreach program to reach these children. So I think for many of us, we know that families experiencing homelessness, a good place to reach them might be a homeless shelter. But in this case, and this was an example from another state, but they found that in their community, some other places that they could be looking at were motels, laundromats, thrift stores, food pantries, soup kitchens, any 24-hour businesses. Families who experience homelessness often need a place to go overnight, and so that might be a good place to look. Faith-based organizations, trailer parks, campgrounds, and any transitional and supportive housing programs. And so this information, you may not know it right away, or it might not be intuitive, but if you reach out to organizations that serve pre-K eligible populations, so for example, if you reached out to a homeless shelter in your community, you could ask their staff, where are these families before they come to you, and where do they go after? And that might help you get some ideas of where to conduct outreach. You'll also want to meet families where they are. So create a community presence. And with this, you can just ask families where you should advertise. Where do families with young children spend their times, and what spend their time in, what would catch their attention. So grocery stores, government housing, laundromats, family-friendly restaurants. So if there's any restaurants with playscapes, it might be a great place to put up information about your program. Faith-based organizations, parks, there's lots of different ideas. And then you'll also want to create an online presence. I think the reality with families, especially young parents, is that to meet families where they are means to meet them online. And so you can ask families what apps or websites they use and then create a social media plan based off of that. So it could be that they're using Facebook, Instagram. There's often community blogs or parenting websites that families utilize. So you can get some feedback from families, and then that can help establish where to advertise. We covered this a little bit, but you can also get feedback from community partners. LEA staff will have the most knowledge about program services, so where pre-K is offered, additional services provided, the hours of your program, curriculum, and how and where to register and enroll. But stakeholders and community members are likely going to be the experts when it comes to identifying the needs of the target population and determining how best to reach them. So you can reach out to community partners and get some ideas about what messaging might be effective and where exactly to conduct your outreach. So here's an example, feedback from community partners. There's one school district who wants to promote pre-K to families of children who do not speak English. So they conducted research and found some organizations in their community that serve children and families who may not speak English. So they found a nonprofit that serves refugees. They found a few churches or faith-based organizations that offer services in languages other than English. And then they also found a nonprofit that offers free ESL classes. So they set up meetings with these organizations to see if they can assist in promoting their pre-K program and to get feedback on how to reach these families and what messaging might be effective. You'll also want to not only connect with the community organizations, but actually build relationships with them. So you can start with an email or an in-person introduction and then create reciprocal relationships. So if there's a way for you to promote their program and they can promote yours, and of course you want to make sure it's appropriate and something that you are allowed to promote, but oftentimes you can find something that's beneficial for both parties. You'll also want to attend community events year-round, so don't just focus on promoting pre-K in the early spring, but just having a presence all the time can be helpful. And then you'll also want to maintain community outreach efforts over time. So social service organizations often have high turnover, and that can lead to a loss of information. So maintaining that connection with them and that relationship with them continuously and over time can be helpful. And you can also equip them with the information they need to promote your program. So give them the tools they need, whether it's a flyer, whether it's a paragraph of information they can shoot in an email, anything that can make it easier for them. You can also create a listserv of community partners so that you can distribute information quickly and efficiently. So if you have a listserv of all the different social service organizations in your community, and when pre-K registration opens up, you can send them the information in a flyer quickly and easily. So here's an example of building relationships with community organizations. There's a community here that has a robust home visiting program that serves children 3 to 5. And the school district partnered with the home visiting program to ensure all home visitors knew about the program, how to register, when to register, eligibility requirements, and benefits. So the home visitors started working with families to enroll them in pre-K after they graduated from the home visiting program. So home visiting programs often have like a graduation or an ending to their program, and they give families a lot of information on sort of next steps or things they can do after they finish the program. And so one of the tools you can equip them with is just information on pre-K and how to register. Another example is partnering with an organization that offers ESL classes. In exchange, you could offer meeting space, and maybe they use your space to provide ESL classes after hours. And then in turn, they can promote your pre-K program. And then another idea is to partner with local housing authority. This was an example from another state, but the LEA recruited families in local neighborhoods by providing weekly drop-in preschool activities. So they would just do activities in the park or the playground or, free public spaces. And the housing authority really liked seeing how that played out and the benefits provided. So they ended up later, it benefited the LEA because they got a formal agreement to provide future space in the development for a pre-K classroom. Another thing you can do is utilize trusted messengers. So you can use trusted messengers to explain the importance of early childhood education and provide information on registration. 0 to 3 conducted a research study recently, and they found that some of the highest or the most trusted messengers included healthcare providers, faith-based organizations, grandparents, and friends. So that would be referrals. So if you can get any of these populations to sort of be a steward of your organization or your mission, your program, then that can help recruit families as well. So partner with doctor's offices, any churches in the area, target grandparents, and then for friends, equip your existing pre-K families with the tools that they need in order to make referrals to people that they may know with children who are eligible. Some districts, I believe, have started even offering small incentives for doing referrals, and you would have to work with your district on what you all have. If there's a grant or any funding available to do that, you may be able to make that work. Or sometimes you can get some things donated. So here's an example of utilizing trusted messengers. An Austin area nonprofit provides prescription pads to healthcare providers to prescribe pre-K for eligible children and families. So this project includes many school districts in the area, and you can see the district and their phone number listed there. And, like I mentioned, doctors are often a trusted messenger. And so I think when families get this from their pediatrician, they may look into it and trust it because they have that relationship built with their doctor. You'll also want to utilize what's in it for me messaging. So anything that you put out about your pre-K program should catch families' attention with information on why they should register, not just where, when, and how. So you can work together to create taglines or phrases to explain the benefits of your program, and then really just help. I think that addresses the barriers that families face when they don't know the benefits of pre-K. So if you have a flyer that says, pre-K is open, here's when to register and how to register, just add something, a little something that helps explain the benefit of that. And here's 2 examples of that. What's in it for me messaging on the first one, build up your family strengths. So there was some research conducted, and there's an outreach toolkit included in the resources section of this presentation, but it was talking about really building on families' existing strengths. And so this is for a different program, but it can kind of give you an idea of how to start. So this says, build up your family strengths, make your strong family even stronger with the Strengthening Families program. So you could kind of create something similar for your pre-K program. And then on the one on the right, line up their future, join us to learn how we give kids a great start. Children who go to pre-K are better prepared for kindergarten and beyond. And this one is included in the TEA enrollment toolkit. So you can get some of that information from there as well. Lastly, or close to the end, you can utilize volunteers, interns, or service organizations. I know you all mentioned that this takes a lot of time. And I know you're probably thinking, okay, these are, we can use some of these ideas, but who has the time to create these meetings or do these phone calls or, be a part of community events? And so it does take a little bit of work up front, but as much as possible, if you can utilize volunteers, interns, or service organizations, they can do a lot of what we covered in this presentation. They can work booths at community events. They can put flyers on doors. They can put flyers in businesses in your community. And there's lots of different things that volunteer groups can do. You can look into the junior league, fraternity or sorority organizations, high school or college service organizations, or business groups. Business groups are often looking for one-day volunteer opportunities, so you could create something for them. You can also seek help from the volunteers to post flyers, go door to door, or work booths. And then you can also consider creating outreach intern positions for your program. So you could partner with your local community college or university to recruit students from similar fields, so social work or human development or marketing. You can kind of, try to think outside the box and not just recruit education people, but maybe people who are really interested in outreach or social services. You can also utilize parents as referral sources. So give parents in your program flyers or brochures they can distribute in their neighborhoods. Ask them if they know of any places that they can put flyers up or any places that have families who might be eligible. And you can also consider designating official outreach positions, either paid or volunteer, to parents of current students, and you can offer small incentives or rewards for referrals. Lastly, you'll want to train all of your LEA staff. So, this can be anyone who works at your district or works at schools. You can consider creating a short video or a webinar, just a few minutes, that outlines the benefits of pre-K, registration instructions, eligibility criteria, and talking points to use with families. And then you can share the video or information with all staff members. So if you all have a newsletter that goes out or some other format of sharing information, that can be helpful as well. Because the more people that know about it, the more that they will be able to communicate it in their circles and in the places that they go and with families that they might know. So this is from the enrollment toolkit as well, but here's some talking points for district and school staff. You put something together that's really easy. They can use this if they get any questions or get any calls, and they can help communicate the benefits of pre-K and how to register. So in closing, seek feedback on where and how to reach eligible families, promote your program early and often or continuously throughout the year, create outreach materials that are geared towards specific populations, seek help in conducting outreach, so try to find volunteer groups or internship opportunities, any other people that can help in your efforts. If you're not sure where to start, just start small and then increase, improve, and diversify your outreach strategies each year. Start with something that's free or low cost or something that someone else can help you with, and then evaluate your outreach efforts. So whatever you decide to do, look at it at the end of the year and figure out if it worked or if you need to improve it or change strategies in any way. So for our next steps, we have a PLC in 2 weeks on the 27th at 10 a.m. and we'll have districts share about their outreach strategies, if they've tried anything that's worked or that hasn't worked. And then Unit 6 will discuss marketing. We'll have a guest speaker from Commit to Dallas talk to us about some of the marketing strategies they've utilized in their community. So we'll have that webinar on March 27th and the PLC on April 3rd. And then here are some resources that I used to help put together some of this information. There's talking points for LEA staff, neighborhood and community walk tips if you have any groups do any neighborhood walks to promote your program, a toolkit for engaging hard to reach families, the link to our general enrollment toolkit, and then there's another great toolkit called 5 Strategies for Successful Recruitment and Retention of Children and Families in Human Service Organizations. And there's a lot of great information there as well. So with that, I just want to open it up and see if anyone has any questions or anything they want to talk about. Okay, well, I don't think there's any questions, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this presentation. If you have any questions after you get off this webinar, definitely feel free to reach out at any time. Otherwise, we will chat on the PLC on the 27th. So thank you and have a great day.